Good day, I'm Junior Researcher Adam Southgate, and today's lecture will be covering the Abomination spheres, Pori. I'd appreciate that all hunters please subscribe, as to not miss any future lectures, and also, if you enjoy the lecture and find it informative, please like the video and click the bell to ensure you do not miss any future announcements. I would also be very happy to hear your thoughts, views, and stories of your own interactions with the monsters of the spheres in the comment area of this video. Also, I'm always ready to answer any questions you may have, and please share these lectures with any hunters you feel would benefit from them. So, to begin, as always, we'll start with our general announcements. Firstly, the Ebba Vale e Ombra D situation has been resolved thanks to freelance hunter The Slumbering Sanctuary and his team member, Maiko. The team does have a third member with a direct link to the Entropic Sphere, however they were unavailable for this contract, and so it fell to the two. The Slumbering Sanctuary himself is a Fey hybrid, while Maiko is similar, though through a sphere localized to Japan. They were tasked to investigate a new-built home that had seemingly become overrun with the Ombra D. The appearance of such an entity in a new building is extremely unlikely due to the factors needed to form the entity. This left our gamekeepers confused, as although all evidence pointed to Ombra D, they could not get past how one could have possibly formed. Our two freelance hunters were able to leverage their power to create a dim light around themselves, which acted as a shield against the entities, though under a more aggressive assault it would have failed. Their first goal was to switch the power back on within the home, however, even this was not straightforward. The fuse box had been smashed with a common hammer. The culprit lay dead beneath it, a woman aged mid-20s that did not fit the description of any of the family members who were in the home at the time of the attack. Upon the floor next to the charred body was a capsule of unknown origin that had been left open. The inside of the container was painted a deep impenetrable black, while the outside was an almost bleached white. Apart from the capsule, the body possessed nothing out of the ordinary and had no form of identification. The two cleared the entities with the Wayne Street light trap method without too much difficulty. However, the mystery of the woman, the capsule, and how the first Ombra D formed is still to be solved. Any hunters who wish to aid the freelance team in this investigation can leave a comment with their theories as to what is actually going on. Secondly, an unknown entity has been spotted moving around a scrap heap outside of the town of Kafili. While our typical recourse would be to quarantine such a being for study, in this case that is not an option. The being is a construct made of metal, and as time passes it is adding more of the scrap to itself. On top of this, it has proven to be highly aggressive to any organic life, throwing its, we estimate, 3-ton body at any animate being. The heap it resides within holds around 100 tons of scrap metal. If the entity is allowed to add this to itself, it will become a much larger problem, quite literally. As such, it must be disposed of. While the being appears slow while harvesting metal for its body, once a living being is witnessed, it has been clocked moving at around 30 miles per hour from a dead stop. Its main means of attack appears to be crushing, using its own body weight to achieve this. Once atop a victim, it will move in a tight circle until all that's left is liquefied. We are unsure how the creature perceives the world, as it possesses no sensory organs, and yet it shows an uncanny ability to pinpoint its victims. After the creature has been subdued, we can begin to ascertain its origins. We require a team of at least 20 for this contract of journeyman rank or higher. Those interested can apply via the bounty board at their local order office, or they can contact me directly through the comment section of this video. If those who volunteer for this contract could, would you please leave a comment explaining your intended method for dealing with this entity? The Abomination sphere is one that has been described as unbalanced, at least by our standards. The vast majority of entities from this sphere are obligate carnivores, with very few being omnivorous and even fewer being herbivorous. Without being able to travel to the sphere, we are unable to solve this mystery. However, we can gain clues as to what is going on. The low levels of herbivore species implies a world with few plants, which upon our world act as the bedrock of our food web. This implies that some other mechanism has taken the role of plants within their world. We know that wherever they originate from does not receive much if any sunlight, but is extremely hot. This would imply a world with an extremely thick atmosphere, which is also supported by the high levels of pressure within their bodies. We have found freshly breached entities bearing deep scars upon their chitinous plates. Our first thought was simple battle damage, as many do bear such scars. However, some were strange and did not fit this explanation. After quite some time, it was determined that these marks were caused by high-speed impacts, most likely by the direction of the scarring from above. Embedded within one of the Abomination entity's plates was found a mostly intact rock. This rock was covered in a thick, gelatinous, radiosynthesizing slime. Upon DNA testing of both the slime and the entity, it was found that the two were completely unrelated from each other. This gave us an answer for the bizarre scarring, seemingly micrometeorite strikes. It was common enough that these scars were found to estimate an almost continuous rain of these micrometeors. This would mean a steady supply of minerals to the world, but also nutrients in the form of the radiosynthesizing slime. And so, something must be devouring this slime. Pori are a quadrupedal abomination species that stands at around 6 feet tall at the shoulders and weighing around 5 tons. They possess 4 powerful legs that end in a flat elephant-like hoof. While these legs are extremely strong, being filled with dense muscle, even by their sphere's standards, this is all in aid of supporting their massive weight. Their torsos are thick and barrel-like with little flexibility. This is due to their rigid rib cage that creates an internal shell. They possess 6 stomach-like chambers which their food passes through in turn, along with a massively long set of intestines reaching a total length of around 100 meters. They have 2 specialized resonance organs, also within the torso. The first is to release pulses of sound to give them a vague idea of their surroundings, while the second, we believe, is for a primitive form of communication. This communication is not one that requires thought, and instead is a near-constant sound specifically to act as a beacon for others of its species. Finally, of the abnormal organs in the torso is the secondary brain. Just as with the primary brain within the head, this is bizarrely small when compared to similar-sized creatures within both the Abomination sphere and our own. Covering the outside of the creature is, as stated, the plates common within the sphere. However, oddly, the Pori shed individual plates rather often, growing new ones beneath the old. Moving to the head, and the most interesting aspect of the creature's anatomy. The mouth of the Pori is bizarrely shaped, possessing a lower scoop made of thick, dense bone that is then reinforced with chitinous plates. Inside the mouth there are no teeth. Instead, both the upper and lower parts are flat, solid structures that the creature can close and grind against each other. At the very back of the mouth is a tongue-like organ that, while not in use, rests within the nasal cavity. The tongue is extremely wide and is able to move into the mouth. While all these adaptations may appear strange, when viewed in use they begin to make a great deal of sense. The Pori are a herd animal that run their scoop-like lower jaws into the ground, placing the topsoil and anything that happens to be in it into their mouths. Once inside their mouths, they grind the matter into a paste, then moving it to their throats with their tongues to be swallowed. Their entire digestive system has evolved to remove anything of use from whatever they eat, from dead animal matter to meteoric slime to the very topsoil itself. In fact, once a herd passes through a field, they will leave it completely fallow, with nothing being able to grow there for decades afterward. This is how thoroughly they extract nutrients. As stated, they live in herds. These herds can be massive in size, with the strongest leading the group and the weakest at the back. This was initially thought to be due to dominance. However, on further examination it has been shown to be more altruistic. The weaker a Pori is, the harder they find it to digest and draw nutrients from the soil they consume. Due to this, those at the front of the herd will eat far more than their bodies need, literally continuously eating. The large amounts of excess nutrients and minerals will then be expelled via the typical means. These are then eaten by those behind. This daisy chain of pre-digested food will continue down the line until all are fed. Along with the Pori's leavings, they will also cast off chitinous plates, which too will be eaten by those behind, recycling them. We believe that the Pori act as a primary prey species within the Abomination sphere, with those on the outskirts of the herd being picked off. They do not appear to react to danger, simply continuing their march forward. This implies that within their sphere, they exist in large numbers to the point where even in such a heavily carnivore-populated place, their numbers remain stable. In recent years, we have attempted to farm the Pori for their chitinous plates, which can be used to create armor, weapons, and ammunition. The project is called The Run, and is a large stretch of ground being 1 mile wide and 20 miles long, and arranged into a ring. The Pori inside this ring continuously walk around the track, devouring everything within. This was at first considered impossible due to them exhausting all available food within the area. However, it was discovered that the creatures are more than capable of breaking down inorganic materials such as plastics. This has led to the ring being used as a waste dump, with the creatures devouring the rubbish as they pass over it. For the plates, which is the primary reason we began the project, corpses of Abomination entities that have been hunted are mulched down into a mincemeat-like slurry that is then thrown into the ring to supply the Pori with the necessary minerals they need to create them. This is an incredibly complex system, as we must keep our captured Pori population stable at all times. We achieve this by limiting the amount of food offered to the entities. If their numbers are beginning to get too high, we will lower the food. Not enough to starve them, but enough to stop them reproducing. If the numbers drop too low, we will increase the food to encourage more births. Harvesting the plates is thankfully relatively simple. While the plates dropped by those at the front of the herd are eaten by those behind, those dropped by the Pori at the back are left upon the ground, where they can be gathered before the herd loops around again. The walls of the loop are 6-meter thick concrete and was built at massive expense. It was only after that we discovered that the creatures have a strong aversion to electrical shock. We literally could have kept them in place with a simple electric fence, similar to what is used for domestic cattle, and due to their limited cognitive abilities, they would not have even attempted to make an escape. While it is still early days for the project, we hope to be able to collect enough plates to begin selling them to other anti-incursion organizations around the world. With this project and the new centralized base for the Order, we could definitely use the revenue stream. While at one time we did hunt the Pori, today we instead focus on capture. This is still a complicated process that is very time sensitive. As Abomination entities, the Pori reproduce asexually, meaning that a single individual can easily begin a new herd, which can quickly leave a large area unable to support life. Thankfully, they show little reaction to humans, displaying no aggression or interest. This will allow you to set up your trap right in front of the entity. We suggest a heavy-duty vehicle with an attached trailer capable of supporting an entity of their size. This trailer should be capable of opening on both ends. This trailer will need to be heavily reinforced, with the walls inside electrified to dissuade the Pori from pushing against them. Luring the Pori into the trailer involves literally creating a path of high-value food for them into the space. They should follow this by instinct, where they can then be shut within. The problem is that without a constant supply of food, the Pori will panic, and so you will need someone within the trailer to supply a slow but steady flow of earth for them to eat during their journey to the run. The calculations for how much food will be needed should always be overestimated, as even with the electrified walls, if a Pori panics, it could easily break its way through even a reinforced trailer. While they are docile by nature, even when suffering predatory threat, if food is unavailable they will become far more hostile, ramming into any perceived barrier, and while not fast, the strength they are able to bring to bear is frightening. Once delivered, the trailer will be detached and opened from the opposite side to the one the Pori entered, and the creature will be let out. This is because the entity is unable to turn in such a small space, and they are incapable of walking backwards. After this, they will be led to join the rest of the herd. The Pori are a good example of a mostly benign entity. While they are capable of causing an ecological disaster, they are completely passive towards living beings. For ourselves, they offer access to an incredibly valuable resource in our fight against the more malevolent entities. They have even been put forward as a solution to the world's waste problem, as they can break down plastics and other non-decomposing materials. This is a long way off, with a great many problems to solve. However, it does offer some hope for our future, which is something that cannot be said for most other entities that we've come across. But that will be all for today, with Arthur's might and Merlin's wisdom. Thank you.